Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a very interesting day. What we have today in store for you all is that we are going to do a comparison of the two favorite languages of ours, Python and JavaScript. So before you see on the left hand side, you see the Python idle shell. This is where we'll type out various Python stuff. And on the right hand side, we'll have the corresponding JavaScript commands being coded in. So for our viewing pleasure today, we have Mr. JavaScript here with us. He's a JavaScript expert, and I'll try to fill in for Python. All right, so here we go. Without further ado, let's start. Welcome, Mr. JavaScript.
Hi.
Hi. As you know, we all want to we have a lot of viewers here with us, some of whom are good at coding Python, but they want to learn JavaScript. And at the same time, we have a whole bunch of viewers who are good at JavaScript, but they want to learn Python. So today is a rather interesting show. So let's get started. So let's say on this side, uh, in Python, Python is an interpretive language. It's not a compiled language, so we can just type out. Let's start creating some variables. So in Python, all you do is you just say x equals to 5 and y equals to 10. This is how you just create variables in Python, and I can simply say x plus y is 10 or x plus y is 15. It just prints out that. So just wondering, like, how do you create variables in JavaScript?
Okay, so it's basically the same way. It's just we are actually gonna put var in front of our variable name.
Oh yeah. I heard that you typically do var the first time when you are creating variables, and
Yeah.
subsequent times you don't. Okay, good.
So then we could, just like in Python, we could use numbers
Nice.
and print them.
Good. And then, so how would you do this? X plus y.
And
Can you
then
just complete it? So you'd say,
y equals 10, and it's basically the same thing.
oh, this is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I mean, the two languages are pretty much the same,
But
right?
here is one important thing you need to remember. In Python, for a boolean, we're gonna do capitalized, true and false. But in JavaScript, we're actually gonna just it's gonna be lowercase.
I see. Can you just put the lowercase there, like y is true, and then I'll do the corresponding thing on the left hand side for Python, where we'll say y equals true, like this. Okay, anyway, so we showed the viewers how to create variables that are storing integers right now. Of course, I mean, in Python world, you can store floating variables like this. You're saying 5.0, and that basically creates a floating variable, and then y could be 2. So if you do x plus y here, it automatically returns the result as a float, because one of the operands is a float here. So anyway, so that is interesting. Let's see if you can how do you do floats there? Just try it out.
This should work.
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Yeah, it
Perfect.
seems like it got
And
it.
then can you create a y equals, which is an integer? Can
Yeah,
you
let's
say
do that.
2? Yeah.
And then,
All right, perfect. So
but
that works.
it's not a float variable.
That's fine. So at least x was float. All right. So, and then let's move on to strings. And in Python, basically, you simply create strings like this. You just use single quotes or double quotes, and you can create strings like this. And basically, so what you do is basically, I know. So basically, what you do is x plus y, and you say you can concatenate the two variables here.
Yes.
So that's concatenation. Is that pretty much similar?
Yeah, same with JavaScript. You can pretty much do it. Yeah, this should also work. See?
Oh, perfect. So that is good. So yeah. So now we've seen how variables can hold strings and how we can concatenate the strings. So okay, so good so far. So it appears that the two languages are pretty close, pretty similar syntax-wise and semantics-wise as far as simple stuff like variables are concerned. Let's move on to something more interesting. Let's try to do, okay, let's say I'll show how let's explore how they are different when we are coding up loops. So like, for example, in Python world, you can create loops like for I in range 10 or I in range 5, and you can print out say number I, and then if I do this, it basically loops over. It loops over this. So there's a loop running in this code, looping from 0 all the way through 4, and it prints out these numbers. So how do you do the corresponding thing in JavaScript?
Okay, so in JavaScript, the loops are much different. Let me just clear away this. And so for a for loop, you're gonna do the same thing with for, but instead of I in range, you're gonna put parentheses. And inside of this, we're gonna put the condition. So let's do variable I equals 0. And then I is probably less than 10.
No, let's do the same thing. Always.
Less than 5. And then I plus plus.
Perfect.
And that basically means I will go up by 1.
Yes, so from 0 to through all the way through 4.
And so now we're going to put curly brackets outside of the parentheses.
Yes.
And inside of these curly brackets is where we're going to put our code.
Yes.
That's going to happen. And in JavaScript, to print, we're going to do console.log.
I see.
And it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
You can try the comma, if that comma works.
I don't think the comma works.
Okay, try it.
In JavaScript, so I'm just going to show like this.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so there you go. So that's how the for loops are done. In Python world, we also have the while loop. Do you also have the same thing in JavaScript land?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me do the while loop here first. And so let's say our loop variable, it starts out the default value of 0, and then we'll say while that variable is less than 5, I want to print out say loop variable, and I want to say loop, so it will print this out. And then at this point, I want to increment. I want to increment the loop plus equals by 1. So there you go. So how do you do this code using a while loop here? Let's see.
For the while loops, it's actually pretty similar. We're going to do while and then parentheses. But before we even put the condition, we need a variable.
Oh, I see.
So let's just do x.
Let's do the same thing.
Oh yeah, loop equals to 0.
Okay, that's similar.
And then while loop is less than 5. And then we're going to use curly brackets again. And we can basically... Yeah.
Alright, let's give it a whirl.
What? We actually made a mistake here.
Okay, there you go.
That explains it. Console.log.
Yeah, that was funny. So it should be
I actually did not know that.
That's fine. So that was something new that we learned. So let's see what's happening. So the loop variable is set to 0, and while it is less than the console.log loop.
What happened here was loop actually is now 5 again because this.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Just set it to 0.
So we need to set it to 0 again.
And then let's run the same thing again. There you go. So how did you get the code back? What did you press?
We used on the Mac. We used Control P.
Okay. Good. That's it. Just okay. Let's go ahead.
But on Windows, I think it is Alt P.
Okay. Good. There you go. So that's how you do the loops in JavaScript. So Mr. JavaScript just showed you 2 ways of doing loops. He showed you using for construct and also the while construct. And the same thing I also showed you earlier using in Python. All right. So having looked at the loops, let's move on. So in pretty much all languages, we have all these branching type situations. Basically, what I'm talking about if-else type conditions. So in the Python world, basically what we do is we use if, elif, else kind of structures. So for example, let's say if x is 5, and what we want to do is we want to test for x being some number. So we'll say if x is less than 10, you would say variable. We would say basically you would say hello, hi, and if x is less than 4, you would okay, hold on, let me do it again. Okay, so if x is less than 10, print hi. Elif, let's do elif x is less than 4. Unident doesn't match any outer indentation level. All right, so this is the issue that we were we were getting puzzled about. So if x is 5, and if we say if x is less than 10, we'll want to print hi, and if we say if so as soon as we say this, it gives us unident doesn't match any outer indentation. So basically this basically indicates there is some issue with indentation, and some tabs and spaces are getting messed up. So I looked into this a little bit. So this was fairly interesting. What's happening is that in the shell, just watch me. So if x is less than 10, so this line I started at say column 0, pretty much the first column here. There was no space that I added. Let me show you. If I start here, if I put 2 spaces and I type it out, if x is less than 10, it will give you an error. If I start on the first column itself, if x is less than 10, that's good. And then I'll say print hi. And then now this is still, this line is the one that was giving us an error if I type right away. So to go to column 0, I have to go back all the way here. Visually to us, it still appears they are off indentation, but to the computer, this is the right indentation. So elif x is less than 4, we'll print hello. And then let's do the last one. Else print what's up. All right. So there you go. So since x was 5, the first condition was true and it printed out hi. So anyways, the thing that I wanted to highlight was that in Python we use if and not else if, it's elif, and that's how if elif else structures work in Python. So let's show everybody how you do that in JavaScript.
Okay, so first the if, actually let me first make a variable. And so if is basically the same, but we still use parentheses and put the condition inside.
Yeah. And
then curly brackets. Our code goes inside here.
I see.
And just remember that JavaScript, the indentation, there's no need for it.
That is pretty cool. Okay, good. And okay, that's that.
Okay, so now for the elif,
yes,
we're gonna use else if, and you're actually gonna put the else if after the curly bracket.
I see. Can you put else on the next line itself? Give it a try.
Yeah, you can do
okay,
that.
Good. That is good.
Else and then space if.
Yeah, good. And then put the
condition.
condition.
Do this.
Oh, I see.
You gotta do space if.
And then
this.
Then x is less than 4 is a condition. And then again, good. And then again, so not long.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
And then the last one.
Oof. There. So if I did this correct, it should print hi.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
And as you can see, it printed hi.
Yes. All right, good. So good. So again, as we see, there are slight variations between the two languages when you code up if-else, else-if structures. All right, so we've done variables, we've done loops, we've covered if-else structures. What should be next? Okay, let's do some very simple data structures that are sort of primitive data structures. Let's do lists now. So in Python, let's say if I want to create a list of fruits, this is how, let's put in, so you use square brackets here, and then let me put in an apple, and then let me put it a banana, and let's put one more fruit. Another fruit would be an orange. Let's see. Okay, so we've got these three fruits, and then so you can actually, so you can see fruits here. Fruit is, that's funny. All right, so again, Control P gets you back the commands. So list of fruits, and if I'm not mistaken, we use a length command here.
Actually, no, it's len.
Uh,
Yeah, it's len.
Okay, I feel I should let you do the, more. It seems like you know even more Python than me, but that is good. Good. All right. So you said len. Let's give it this, and then okay, wonderful. So it tells you there are three fruits in this list. So can you show us how you do the corresponding code in JavaScript world?
Okay.
How you create lists?
It's actually like pretty much exactly the same.
Oh, seriously? Wow, that is good.
List of fruits equals. Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Wonderful.
See?
All right, good, good, good. So, and then how do you get the length?
Oh, you can do, let's print it. So, console.log, and then we're going to do list of fruits or the name of your variable.
Yes.
Or list, actually. And
Yeah.
then we're going to do dot length.
I see, I see.
And
all right,
see
perfect.
we got 3.
Perfect, perfect. So this is pretty cool. They are pretty similar if you're coding up lists. And all right, so let's move on from lists to dictionaries.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so dictionaries are pretty useful structures, and like in most of my games that I build in Python or the problems that I've solved, algorithmic type problems, I use dictionaries and lists all the time. So in Python world, you would create a dictionary like this. For example, you would say, my dictionary is, and you use uh, curly curly brackets, and then you would say John colon Malone, and then comma. So that's the first entry, and each entry comprises of a key and a value. The key is John, and the value is Malone. And then next would be say Tommy colon boy. All right, so that's a list. That's a dictionary, and this is how you display the dictionary. So how do you declare dictionaries in JavaScript world?
It's also really very similar. Actually, pretty much exactly the same. So we're gonna do John. Oh crap. And then we're gonna do this. I'm messing up. Yeah, so it's very like.
Oh, it's pretty much, it's exactly the same then.
Yeah.
Huh? I see. Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. So, so we can so pretty much. I mean, whether you're working in JavaScript world or Python world, creating lists and dictionaries are so similar. They are pretty much exactly the same. Cool, cool. So all right. So having gotten a flavor of dictionaries and lists, let's move on to one more item. Let's do one more item before we get done. Actually, yeah, let's do functions. And actually, I had classes in mind. So let's do these two items, functions and classes, and let's compare them between these two languages, how they are coded up. So let's start. Let's do functions first. So in Python, when you're declaring functions, you use this construct called def, short for define, and you would say, let's say you would call a square function, and the square function, let's say it takes a number num, and it returns back num times num. So basically, you're squaring the number. So that's how you declare a function, and this is the client code that is invoking the function. So when you say square 5, it'll tell you 25. So that's how you declare, you create functions in Python and call them. So let's see how you do the exact same thing in JavaScript world.
Yeah, okay. Let me first clear the console.
Thank you.
Okay, so to make a function, we're first gonna type the function name. and then we're gonna do equals to function. Pretty straightforward.
Yes.
And then parentheses, and this is where we're gonna put our arguments.
Okay.
So let's put num.
Yes.
And then in these curly brackets outside of the parentheses,
yes,
that's where we're gonna put our code.
Okay.
So let's do return num times num. And also the return is also pretty much the same.
Oh, it's exactly the same. Okay. So now.
And now let's
call the functions.
Or call it. There we go.
Okay. So
let's use 5 also to make sure.
All right, perfect, good.
And
So
it works.
Good. All right. So as you can see, functions are syntactically very similar, although there is a slight difference in JavaScript world. And I kind of like this way as well. So you're declaring the name of the function equals function. All right, good. So let's. All right. So now let's move on to classes, and let me code up a simple class in Python. So let's create a dog class. So you would simply say class dog and colon, and you go to the next line. Then there, we want him to have 4 legs, 2 eyes, and a bark method. So what you do is basically you would declare a constructor this way. You would say def underscore init, and he gets a self argument, and then he gets legs. Actually, let's make it simple. Let's keep it simple. So we would say self.legs equals 4, self.eyes equals 2, and that's our init method. And what we want to do next is basically we want to create a bark method, and the bark method will simply print bow, bow, bow. And that is pretty much how you declare a class. Now, a class is simply a template, as we know. There's no memory allocated for it till you actually instantiate and create an object from the class. So in Python, let's create a small dog. Notice the D is small, so that's a different handle than the class dog. So small dog, the dog is basically, we say equals dog like this. And now you have memory allocated for an instance small dog. And then if you say dog.legs, it should give you 4, dog.eyes, it can give you 2, and let's have the dog bark. You have the dog bark like this, bow, bow, bow. So let's see how you would do a similar coding in JavaScript world.
Okay, so first we're going to do the same thing just like in Python. We're going to do class.
Yes.
And then the name, dog.
Good.
And this time instead of the colon and then tab, we're going to use curly brackets as always.
Good.
And in JavaScript, our constructor is actually just constructor.
Oh, wonderful. So do you need any indentation there when you say constructor?
No, in JavaScript, indentation is
optional.
never needed.
I see. It's optional.
It will make it neater, but...
Okay, it'll make it neater a little bit maybe.
Okay.
Just for, so that, that's a good coding style. Okay, good. So you
So
have the constructor.
Here we'll put arguments if you want.
Okay, for our case, we don't have any arguments, so we can skip those. And cool. And
we'll do... So in JavaScript, instead of self.legs, we're going to use this.
All right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen this pointer in other languages too, like in C++.
There we go.
All right.
There. Okay, so now let's make a method.
Okay.
So for a method, you're just going to do the...
name of the method?
Name of the method. And then the parentheses. As always, this is where the
arguments go.
Yeah. And so curly brackets. And then console.log. Bow bow.
All right.
There we go.
All right.
And that's how you make a class.
And then let's
now let's make an object of a class.
All right.
And to do that, we're going to do the object name.
Yes, equals.
And then equals. Instead of Python where you just do dog and then this, we're going to do new dog. Make sure it's capitalized.
All right, so there you have it. And then he has 4 legs and 2 eyes. And how do you call the bark method?
So you can do dog.bark. Bow, bow,
All right,
bow.
perfect. So
And
thank
so
you.
for the legs, you can do the same thing. And then dog.eyes. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yes, so now we know how to write the corresponding JavaScript code for the Python code. So all right, I think this has been a very good session today, especially for beginners of either of the two languages. So yes, so if you know Python and you want to learn JavaScript, and if you're an absolute beginner, this is a good video. And the same thing applies to the other side. If you know JavaScript and want to learn a little bit of Python, this is a good video where you learn about simple things in the languages, like how to create variables, how to do loops, how to do if-else structures, how to do functions, how to do classes. Yeah, I mean, a good beginner video. Thank you so much, Mr. JavaScript. And at this point, we would like to call it a day. We had fun. We hope you all had fun too. Till next time, thank you and ciao.
Bye.